Episode 17, Life of a Saint podcast. We are going with another big guy. Tons of Pro Bowls, tons of All Pros. He's most likely going to end up as a Pro Football Hall of Famer and quite possibly the greatest guard in Saints history. He is Jahri Evans.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Carney.
This is Toy Cook.
I'm Randy Mueller.
This is Quinn Early.
I'm Delvin Bro.
I'm Alex Molden.
I'm Jake Cup. And this is Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
The Life of a Saint.
Life of a Saint.
Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint. Whodat?
Jahri Evans, I guess we will start at the very beginning. What was it like for you growing up in Philly?
Listen, I'm from nice town, Philadelphia, which is not a nice town, but that's where I'm from. And, growing up in the inner city, just like many other cities that have inner cities, it's the inner city. I didn't go to Gratz High School, which was the high school that's in my neighborhood of Nicetown. My siblings went to Gratz, but I didn't go to Gratz. I actually went to JZU before fourth grade, before entering the public league or the Philadelphia school system. I was going to JZU, which is right behind St. Joe's Prep. So if I would have continued going to JZU, I actually probably would have went to the prep. But I went to Frankfurt in high school, and then that's when I first started playing organized football. I didn't play Little League or any other organized football before that. I always wanted to play football. I just, growing up in a neighborhood and playing for the local neighborhood team, whether it was the Logan Cowboys or the Nicetown Steelers, the way we done it in Philadelphia, I don't know if they still do it that way, is age and weight. So obviously I was overweight for my age group, and I would have to play with the older kids, and my mom wasn't having that. So I still played football, probably even playing Little League, just with no pads on the concrete, really, or in the park. Gotcha. But I didn't play organized football until ninth grade.
So playing football in high school, if you had to wrap it up, what was that experience like for you?
It was great. As soon as I got to Frankfurt, I actually went straight to the coach's office and asked him, when is tryouts? And he told me when tryouts were, and I remember going out, trying out for JV with Coach Cat Briati. He was my first coach, and running the 40-yard dash and pulling my groin.
Oh, Jesus.
So I'm like, man, I finally get here, and here I am running the 40-yard dash and starting off injured. But before that, I had did some good stuff. I had showed off my hands and everything, catching a couple of passes. and he was like, listen, man, you're going to make the team. Just go home, rest up, get healthy. And that's what I did. And I came back out. My JV year, we had a really good team. I think we only lost 1 or 2 games that year. A lot of my friends got moved up, but we had a pretty good varsity team. So offensive linemen weren't needed. They won back-to-back championships that year. So I didn't move up to varsity my ninth grade year, and they still wound up winning the championship in 1997, led by Eddie Gaskins and a few other guys. And Eddie is he still holds one of the some of the high school rushing records in the city.
Oh, wow.
A lot of actually.
So when you're thinking of players that are trying to make it into the NFL, Bloomsburg is not one of those universities that kind of jumps off the page and sounds like an easy route. What made you choose that college? Was it just a local thing, or was there something more that went into that decision?
No, what happened was my junior year, we were really, really good. We were undefeated with 3 other teams in the city. It was 4 teams, us, Germantown, Bach, and Northeast. We were all undefeated. Ironically, Brent Grimes was on that Northeast team. I've been playing against Brent Grimes since high school, from high school to college to the pros. So he was on that squad. And our 10th grade year, we went undefeated. We lost 1 game away from the championship. on technicality, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So to the Bach team. So my senior year came around, but that summer before my senior year, I was playing basketball on Broad Street over there in North Philly and at the YMCA. And I was lifting legs before I was playing basketball. And then I started playing basketball, and I broke my tibia. I had a hairline fracture right below my patella, and I had 3 pins and a screw in there. So I had to sit out my whole senior season with that, 3 months with the 3 pins and the screw. Then that stuff came out, and that was another 3 months of healing, and then 3 months of rehab. So I was out of commission for about 6 to 9 months, and that knocked me out of my senior season. Luckily those guys still went to the championship, but they lost. We lost to George Washington in the regular season and George Washington High School in the championship. And but Coach told me, Coach Tom Molyneux, he told me that whoever came through to see the other seniors, he would, I could see them as well. And my junior year, I had about 4 or 5 size 15 shoe boxes full of letters, D1 letters from all over the country. And when I filled that stuff out and sent it back, everybody wanted me to walk on and not offer me anything. So when Bloomsburg came, they offered me a Board of Governors scholarship from the Board of Governors of the university and with some football money. And I was able to go to Bloomsburg on that Board of Governors academic scholarship along with some football money for free. So that's how I wound up at Bloom. Now, I did have a couple Division I AA offers, but North Carolina A&T and Dell State and a couple, like Temple gave me a full ride. They were offering me a full ride academically, but okay, they weren't as good as they are now 15 years ago. But my sisters graduated from Temple, and I wanted to get out of the city of Philadelphia. So Bloomsburg was coming off a national championship in 2000, and so I thought it was a great fit. I knew they would be on the radar, being in the national championship the next coming season. So with that being said, then I went up there, took a visit to the campus. Coaching staff was great, and then I just decided to go to Bloom.
I gotta say, considering how durable you were in the NFL, it's kind of strange hearing about these injuries that you had prior to making it into the league.
Yeah, I suffered another injury in college. Actually, I broke my ankle. What was it? My sophomore year. I redshirted my first year. In my sophomore year, my redshirt freshman year, I think I broke my ankle, but it was towards the end of the season. So I had a plate and 8 screws in there. Luckily, I only missed 1 game because it was at the end of the season. Gotcha. Okay. But I made it back by spring ball. So those are my big 2 injuries that I had early on in my career.
So in college, did you think you had a good chance of making it into the NFL, or was that not yet on your radar and that would kind of develop over those 4 years?
Oh, no, NFL was always on the radar. It was, it's always a goal of mine, just like a lot of children growing up. But when I got to Bloom and I saw the scouts coming to look at the guys that went to the national championship the year before, we had a running back, Marcus Glaze, who he was on the Rams. He was in the Rams training camp. So, we had some Harlan Hill. I think he was a Harlan Hill winner, and a couple other good guys that probably got a couple, looks. So when I saw those scouts coming through my redshirt freshman year, I knew that the NFL would be watching. So, and a couple of the scouts told me, like, listen, we'll be back to check you out in 4 or 5 years. Pass the eye test. You're a big guy. Just keep working and we'll check you out. And luckily, my offensive coordinator at the time, his son was a scout for the Eagles. And in 2006, the Eagles let him go, and the Saints hired him as a scout. And that's how the Saints knew about me and drafted me.
If you had to pick, who was the biggest influence in you making it from that kid that played football in the 9th grade to the NFL? Who was the biggest influence?
I don't know. I mean, that's a hard question. I've always been a hard worker. I always worked hard. I always knew what my goals were. But, obviously having coaches along the way, my family, and as a child, your friends, you always push each other. Everybody has the same goal to make it, right? Everybody's trying to be a pro, be a professional athlete, or whatever it may be. So it was, the drive really came from within and the 1-2, and then just surrounding myself with like-minded people that could encourage me, that could help me be better, whether those coaches, teachers, family, friends, loved ones, whatever it may be. And just understanding, how positive energy can really have an effect, and how negative energy can have a negative effect. So, but just basically working hard, overcoming adversity, just as all the other players do along their journey. And when the opportunity presents itself, just make sure I'm prepared and ready for it.
Now, not to knock Bloomsburg, but it was coming from that university and making it to the NFL. Was that like the toughest thing you had to overcome in your journey, or was there something else that kind of jumps off the page as far as something that was particularly tough to get past?
No, you know what? It is, coming from Division II and making it to the NFL, it's not that tough of an obstacle to me. It's more so the people that are in those positions that give the students an opportunity. It's more so how the system works. There's people that can play football, whether if it's Division I, Division II, Ivy League, Division III, even if it's a rugby player. You've seen it. It's proven. Mm-hmm. So it's not that much of, like, say, an obstacle. The only obstacle that's different is probably the talent that you're going against. But as far as a player's drive to be successful or to be the best player that they can be, you can do that no matter what level of competition you're playing. For me, I did have an opportunity to play Division I talent in the All-Star game before being drafted. I didn't play in Division II All-Star game. I decided to play in the Division I All-Star game, which is the Las Vegas Bowl. And a lot of those guys were gearing up to go to the East-West Shrine Bowl. I think that's right below the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine Bowl. So I did have some talent there, and my confidence grew there. But other than the injury I suffered in high school, that kind of put me in the mind frame of being able to know what it takes to overcome injury, adversity. I mean, 9 months is a long time. So, knowing how to bounce back from that and being able to get all the hardware out when some hardware was supposed to stay in, and then rehab tough and get back out there to play the game at a high level. And then the same thing with the ankle. Those were two big injury adversities. I think being a student athlete is the hardest thing to do. There's not enough hours in a day.
Gotcha.
And but Division II, I think being a student athlete is way harder than being a student athlete in Division I. Just some of the visits that I've seen with teammates and how those guys are really treated very well, as far as the facilities, as far as down to the cafeteria, having their own cafeteria. So it's very exciting that those guys can get some compensation for what they put out on the field now, to make some money. But as far as adversity, I mean, coming up from Nicetown, that's all you know. Inner city, that's all you know. If you're from the city, that's what you know. You don't know anything else. So, I mean, that adversity is itself, but sometimes it's not really looked at as adversity when you're that young. It's looked at as your environment, and you navigate it, and that's what makes you who you are today. So, other than the injury, adversity, and playbook or whatever it may be, I didn't really see it as adversity. It was all just a learning tool to prepare me for challenges ahead.
Now, did you expect to get drafted?
I did. Okay. I did. Looking back at all that now, my draft rate was anywhere between, they were saying, late rounds or whatever. But if you look at that, I was a second guard taken off the table. Max Jean Gillis was number 1 from Georgia, and I was number 2. There's no doubt in my mind if I'd have played at Division I or even the Ivy League, I would have been up in the first round. But, like Coach said, my film probably didn't dictate that for people. but it's college athletes, man. It's really a shame sometimes because your future in the pros is really in the future of your initial getting into the pros, whether it's drafted or free agency. It's really in the hands of scouts and management and their opinions, and coaches and who they like. So, it does put you at a disadvantage. And later in my career, when I was a free agent in year 10, I had an O-line coach who coached in the Giants for years and won Super Bowl with the Giants tell me that the scouts never gave him my college name. And ever since then, he always looks at small school guys on his own because he can't trust the scouts to give him his film. And that's a shame that happens. But, the scouts are trying to raise the ranks just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And they don't trust to put that in the hands of a Division II guy. They rather put it in somebody that's known in Division I, right? So it kind of sucks when those things happen. But when that guy told me that, I'm like, how did I not give you my film? I was one of 7 Division II guys at the Combine. I did everything at the Combine. And I played in the All-Star game, Division I All-Star game. That makes no sense to me that a scout wouldn't give my film up. But that just tells me that he didn't take his job serious, and he didn't do his job very well. And there's a lot of people in the NFL that don't do their job very well.
Now, the way it timed out when you got drafted was right after Hurricane Katrina. Were there any concerns about heading into New Orleans, considering what the region had just gone through?
It depends on what concern. What do you mean by that? I didn't really have any concern as a player about the team and how we would perform. I was more thinking about my steps that I need to take to be the best player I could be. But when I did get to New Orleans and see all the devastation and see how much of a ghost town it was and people left and stuff like that, and what they went through, it was like, man, we got to win and we need to win now. So that I guess with a whole lot of other guys that was just coming there, whether we were coming from other teams and getting a second opportunity, or whether we were drafted or free agents, or like Drew Brees coming off a serious injury. I think we all had one goal in mind, and that was to be the best player we can be and give the whodat Nation, which is a region, the best team that they ever wanted. So, and in the coach's mind, their job was to get us all to quit. So I think in the mixture of all that, happening, it turned out well. But, watching the city and what they went through the previous year, getting there, and how we were able to uplift their spirits in 2006, and along the way, building houses for Habitat for Humanity and United Way, the Wounded Warriors program, the Urban Morris Foundation, and doing things over my 11 years in the city. It was awesome. But initially getting there and just basically I was really just focusing on football and taking it all in and trying to be the best player that I could be. And that was really what I was focusing on coming in. My first OTA, I remember my first OTA when I got down there to Metairie, I had a lower body like cramps, like my legs, like my hamstrings, and not really my hamstrings, but like my calves, and it was all lower body. And coming from the Poconos, you really don't experience that or sweat that much to be cramping. So I take one bag of IV and then I try to get off the table, and when I try to get off, I move too quickly. Full lower body lockup from the hips down, both quads, both hamstrings, everything. I felt like my muscles was going to pop. So after that initial experience, I always made sure I hydrated.
If you haven't already checked out all these different episodes of the Life of a Saint podcast, make sure you check them out. Look at this star-studded lineup of players. Let's get back to the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's get back to it. Coming from a D2 school, is it tough earning respect in the NFL? Do they have lower expectations, or once they see you on the field, that pretty much all just goes away?
Yeah, that rookie minicamp was tough on everybody. I think we all showed signs of where we did well and where we didn't do well. But, I think we all knew that the Heat played a big part of that. But as far as my peers in the league and guys going up against, defenders did try me at times, but they were quick silence within the play or the next play or during the game. and respect was gained. And the great thing about, our game or just sports in general is that 9 out of 10 times is videoed, right? So the eye in the sky is giving you the information regardless. So I think my respect grown as we started to win more games. And I think a lot of people forget 2006, we were half away from going to the Super Bowl. If Devin Hester doesn't return kick to him by my guy Welliford, we might have won that game. So I think as the years went on, I got more and more respect. I don't think that I got enough respect in my first 3 years, whether it be from the media or whatever. But I think as we continue to put up numbers and as Drew continued to pass the ball better and better, I think we gained respect. But the first 2 years, I think 06, this ran for over. He did in 07, but our rushing numbers were very, very high those first couple years. But we all were new. We all were coming. Jeff Fain was coming from the Browns. I was a rookie. Jamar Nesbitt never started. Jamal Brown was the only first-round draft pick, and he played the season before. It was the second year. And then Stinchcomb was his first year starting. So I think a lot of people took us for granted. But, Coach Payton hit the scene pretty hard. That first year was just our first start 5-0 line. Nobody started but Jamal Brown, first-round draft. And then Fame man started in Cleveland a little bit. But me, Stinchcomb, and Nesbitt were really just getting in there. And, Deuce ran 4,000 in 06. I don't know if he ran 4,000 in 07, but our first couple of years we had a huge amount of success rushing the ball. And then Coach Payton and Coach Doug Marone, who's our O-line coach, we just built on that success as the years continued. And I think when we start passing the ball out more, then, more respect.
Was there a player or a couple of players that kind of took you under their wing when you got to the NFL to help you adapt to that level of play?
Yeah, for me in the O-line, it's a little bit different. We did hang with the O-line a lot. We always hung together a lot and spent a lot of time together. Just whether it be in the film room or whatever, off the field, the O-line dinner, which we did every week, and Drew would come and the quarterbacks would come. So we did spend a lot of time off the field with each other. And the one thing that I was able to really dial into, which I didn't do in Division II, was just really get in the classroom. Just learn how to break down film, learn how to watch film. Watch film with Coach Marone and him telling me different keys to look for. Watching film with Stinchcomb, who sat next to me for almost 10 years, and before Zach starting, and just going over, what he sees, what I see. So when we out there and playing, we know exactly what each other is thinking.
Gotcha.
So just watching film together, spending time together outside of just practicing and stuff like that, and also studying yourself. Not only did I study my opponents, but I also studied myself and see what my opponent was watching on me.
Gotcha.
So just doing those things in the off season, breaking plays down, getting better, learning how to study myself on film and my opponents on film each year, I think, got me better each year.
Now, unless I'm wrong, your first home game was the return to the Dome game after Katrina. What was that like? Because that's got to be, you're coming in at a pretty high level as far as like all-time games. What was that like, that being your first home game in the NFL?
It was awesome. After freaking the longest training camp in NFL history, there in Jackson, and playing, a few games at Jackson State Stadium, getting in the dome was amazing, and just everything around it, from the fans and the coverage and what we were able to accomplish. I think it was like week 3.
Yep.
Played 2 games and came home. And just know that, we went into this game knowing that we were not going to lose this game. Everybody was extremely alert, understanding what it meant, not just for us, but for the fans. Obviously for us because it's Atlanta in the division, but for the fans and everybody in the region. And just preparing for that game during the week, putting in the different plays and watching Coach Bondo and Coach Matt, tell Gleason, like, listen, this is what we got on this long snap, but you're going to freaking come through here and block this punt. Because as a rookie, I had to sit in all those meetings, all the special teams meetings. I was only on Field Goal Pro, but they made all the rookies these days on special teams meetings. So, just to see that and watch that come into fruition and go out there and be able to contain Michael Vick, who was one of the most electrifying guys to ever play the game. And, growing up watching him, and now, I'm watching my defense corral him and keep him, from doing what he likes to do. And coming out there for a win after Katrina, it was awesome experience. And, it was a great way to kind of start us all off with our first game in the Dome.
I'm going to go ahead and assume that 2009 was your favorite season just because you made it to the promised land, ended up winning a Super Bowl. What was it about that team that made it different than the other years prior and after that you were able to succeed at the highest level?
It was just the work ethic, having what we went through the previous 3 years in training camp and seeing how we were building this machine and what the ultimate goal was to win a championship and getting the right players in here to fit our mold, whether it was free agency or drafting, getting the guys around Drew so he can do what he does best, getting a guy like Meacham, one of the fastest guys, big and strong and fast, he did in Washington throughout the season, and then he Ray and Lance, and then Colston, who always, just to see how the team was built, and then bringing in Shockey, and then just adding those pieces and Goody and things of that nature, getting to that and starting off with win 13 in a row. It was wild. The training camp was extremely difficult with the defenses and what they were doing and how they were how Greg Williams had them really focusing on getting the ball back into the offense hands. And that's why we had a lot of success. We were able to gain 1 or 2 possessions a game and allow our high-powered offense to drive down the field and dictate the game. And we always, I just remember on the we could be down or we can need 3 or 1 or 7 and just be like, the defense is going to get the ball back. And they did. They did. And when our number was called, go down there and get it. And that was the mentality that we had. The defense would say, hey, we're going to get the ball back. And shoot, when they got the ball back, we had to answer. We really kept each other accountable. And when we needed to lean on one side of the ball, even special teams, we need to lean on them to do their job. Everybody did their job. And the coaches did a great job in preparing us and bringing in different speakers at different times to deliver that everybody can relate to, of inspiring us to do great things. And we were able to not only win 13 games in a row, but losing the last 3 games of the season, hearing all the doubters, nobody's won a Super Bowl since since they lost 3 games, and being able to just reset and turn it back on again, it was awesome.
Now, looking back at your career, heck, looking at your Wikipedia page, if you look at all the awards and accolades that you achieved over both your college and your NFL career, I mean, the list is a mile long. is there anything that kind of jumps off the page as being like extra special to you, or do they all kind of just go in the same bucket of honors?
Yeah, they're all special, but the one thing that is the best is being a Super Bowl champion, and those memories and that season and everything you went through to be the best of the best. So, that's obviously the biggest one. And then, you have memories along the way, whether they're with your teammates on the field, off the field, on vacation. So, but the Super Bowl, being a Super Bowl champion is something that was always a goal of mine. It was actually, coming from a successful high school program in Frankfort High School, which has, I'm pretty sure we still have the most championships in the public league in the city. And then not winning a championship at Frankfort, which that's all they did was win championships, whether it was football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever. And then going to Bloom and getting close, having an undefeated season at Bloom my senior year, and once again losing to Brent Grimes and his crew at Shippensburg. So becoming a champion in the NFL, the only time I won a championship in football is pretty special to me.
What was it like for you leaving New Orleans and heading to Seattle?
It was difficult. When I signed a 7-year deal, which there won't be another offensive lineman to ever sign a 7-year deal, I'll be the last one to set that market for, but it was difficult. I never saw myself not playing out those 7 years. So when the Saints cut me in March, after they tried to trade me 3 years prior, it kind of hit me a little different. It wasn't about my play, obviously. It wasn't about my play. It wasn't that I couldn't cut it. It wasn't that they had somebody to replace me because they didn't. It was difficult. It was like, this is not about football. This is about, what is it about? So, it is what it is. I got cut in March because the way my agent, Gerald Colton, set up the contract, my contract was always front loaded. It was never back loaded. And it didn't sit well with me, but I had to tell myself to get over it and get out there, and luckily Seattle was, the GM, I think Snyder and those guys, they saw the value in me, and it was an experience. It was one that now as was being a free agent, I see how difficult it is for those guys. At the time, I didn't know that the O-line coach and Cable didn't want me there. But when I got there, a lot of the defensive players were concerned with the team because the whole O-line was young. So they kind of really voiced their opinion on getting me there, and that's why I was there. And then when I got there, I said the same thing. I'm like, man, these guys are young. And I thought that it would be smart to move Fetty, who was a rookie guard, to right tackle and put me at tackle.
Right.
But that didn't happen. I didn't make the cut for whatever reason. I don't know why. Coach Carroll coming up to me in the fourth preseason game. He goes, man. He's like, you're 10 years in, man. I bet you didn't expect to play in the fourth quarter of the fourth preseason game. And I was like, no, I didn't. But, it's all good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I didn't see them cutting me. They were way too young. The right guard was about to see 13 Pro Bowlers that season at D-tackle. And I didn't think I was going to get cut. New Orleans had actually called my agent the Thursday before I got cut, asking if I was going to be released. And I told him, I was like, there's no way they cut me. Marcus Webb has not played all preseason. I'm like, there's no way they cut me. They don't really have a line. Like, but I should have known when I got there, when Cable put me with the third string immediately, that I wasn't his guy, which is okay. Like, I mean, not every coach in the NFL is a good coach. So,
right.
But, later came down the line, I got cut. They told me they're only going to keep 9 in the O-line room and not 10, which I've heard that tactic before. So yeah, I got cut, and then I took the weekend off, and I told them that I'll think about going back to New Orleans after the weekend, and wind up going back to New Orleans and getting signed and playing that season. Yeah, they kind of screwed me on my salary. I wound up making less than my backup, but whatever. I came back because I wanted to help the team win and not leave my guys out to dry.
Right.
It wasn't their fault.
So you head to Green Bay for a season, turned out to be your last season. Did you know or did you feel like that was going to be your last season, or did that kind of catch you by surprise? Because you actually played at a pretty high level in Green Bay.
Not at all. I definitely didn't think it was my last season. Like you said, I played at a very high level. One of the top offenses, I think, in the league. We had 2 young running backs who ran the ball very well, who's still there, running the ball very well. We just lost Aaron very early. We were like 5-1 or 6-1. I think Aaron won his first overtime game that year. We beat Chicago twice that year. So yeah, I was balling, and along with the other guys. I remember one game, Thursday night football game, we're in all whites. We had 4 guards in the center because all our tackles were hurt.
Oh, geez.
And we still beat Chicago. So, I knew internally they had, that there was probably going to be Mike McCarthy's last season or next. I think the next season was his last season. But Coach Camp and the O-line, they really, Coach Camp, I like Coach Camp. I talk to him still to this day. Very good O-line coach. And I don't know. I know when I got there, they wanted me to sign a 2-year deal, but the 1-year deal was better for me as far as pricing was. So that's what we signed.
Gotcha.
And then after the season, with Aaron being down and being hurt and us not making the playoffs, I don't know, they never came back to the table for whatever reason it is. But neither did any other team in the NFL. So, I don't know, man. That's a question you got to ask the 32 squads.
It didn't make sense to me, but go ahead.
A lot of stuff doesn't make sense in this league, and it's a private business, and those coaches make the decisions they want to make. But I definitely could still play the game. I just gracefully bowed out.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I still have a lot left in the tank. Training camp isn't what it used to be anyway. So, and a lot of the game is changing anyway. So, I mean, I still think that mentally I know I can still play the game. Obviously it's about the body, and my body is fine. Like I said, in New Orleans, I only missed 7 games in 11 years, and at Green Bay, I decided not to play the last 2 games.
Now I'm going to preface this by saying my answer would certainly be yes, but do you expect to make your way to Canton?
Yeah, I do. I think that, honestly, what I was asked to do in 12 seasons, I think that there's no guard in the history of the game that was able to do what I've done, whether it's in the run game, the passing game, the screen game, pulling to the left in the passing game, pulling to the right in the run game. I don't think there's been a guard in the league that's been asked to do it all. And I was asked to do it all, whether it's in New Orleans or in Green Bay. We're running power. And I did it at a high level. The thing about the Hall of Fame is obviously it's voted in. So we'll see what those guys think. Historically, the game has always been a run game, and in the last decade or so, it's been more passing. So I think that, you have to look at it that way. But I think that I excel in all aspects of the game, whether it's run, pass, screen, or even pulling in the passing game to block the best pass rusher on the other side one-on-one. So, I think I've done it at the highest level. I don't think that if you check the film, I don't think there's a guard out there that was asked to do what I've done.
In your induction into the Saints Hall of Fame, Sean Payton mentioned guys like you and Roman Harper as guys that were influential in changing the culture in New Orleans. How do you respond to praise like that?
It's great. It's awesome. We approached the game. I think that rookie class, whether it was me, Roman, Reggie, I think all of us, Rob Ninkovich and Steve Wellifer, even the guys that wound up playing on other teams, that whole rookie class has a Super Bowl right now. There's a couple that didn't make it, maybe 2 or 3, but that shows you how much value that the ball club thought of us to draft us and bring us aboard. Now, for us to continue to work and continue to thrive and to be the best players we can be, that's an awesome thing for Coach to say. I always wanted to work hard, and in my opinion, when you become a professional athlete, there's no excuses at that point. You have your whole day. to dedicate to being the best player you could be, whether it's in the weight room, the classroom, on the practice field, or outside of the building with maintaining your body and doing other things. So those are some of the things that I tried to do throughout my career, and I think it, transitioned to the football field.
Life of a Saint podcast 17 in the books. Jahri Evans, thank you so much for the time. Who dat, everybody? We'll see you on the next one.